We are not invincible. In fact, we're far from it. While the human race often displays incredible feats of strength, it also displays horrific acts of depravity. Our immense strength is almost constantly heavily juxtaposed by our simple weaknesses. We can say it takes a lot to break us, but if we push the right buttons, everything about us would shatter in an instant. Strength and weakness go hand in hand. The fact that we're living, breathing oxymorons is morbidly funny. The theme of fragility is extremely potent in The Last of Us Part 2. It's present in every single character in the game. Ellie, Abby, Owen, Mel, Manny, Joel, and Tommy. Everybody is fragile, volatile, and a little bit broken. It sounds edgy, I know, but it's true. Because with the amount of trauma that these individuals have faced, it'd be a miracle if they weren't broken. With everything that's happened in their world, it'd be genuinely surprising, unrealistic, and completely unbelievable if they were completely fine. That's not how we work at all. Our minds need to be nurtured. We need to be taken care of. This is the case for any human being. When our minds are left uncared for, we deteriorate into depravity. Any amount of trauma can destroy who we are. It's a funny example, but bear with me. Our minds are reminiscent of a toothpick. When you are cooking, you use a toothpick to hold things together. In this regard, it's a way to keep everything in place and organized. But apply too much pressure and the toothpick snaps. There are stronger toothpicks and there are weaker ones, but once it breaks, you could get splinters in your food. If it's not aligned correctly, if it's in a wrong position, you could hurt yourself without realizing it. If the toothpick is our brain, the food is our lives. And if we have splinters in our lives, we're handicapped. Our mind is what makes us. At the bare minimum, we're just a brain and a mind in a sack of meat, which is why it's so important to preserve and take care of that mind. Yet it's difficult in a world like The Last of Us, because in that world, everything is trying to kill you. Everything is putting these characters through horrifying events. They're losing people, they're losing love, they're losing hope, and they're losing their sanity. Slowly, everything starts to slip away from them, and they can barely do anything to prevent it. Let's take the most obvious example of fragility present and talk about Ellie. She was born in the apocalypse, without a mother, raised by the military, watched her friend turn into a mindless monster, ran away, found out she was immune, had survivor's guilt, met Joel and Tess, went on a journey with them, watched Tess die, went on a journey with Joel, found Henry and Sam, watched Sam turn and watched them both die, brutally murdered a cannibalistic psychopath, found a purpose, built a powerful bond with Joel, reached the Fireflies, had her purpose taken away from her, struggled further with her survival's guilt, found out the truth, despised Joel for years, attempted to reconcile with him, had him taken away from her, and went on a deranged journey, killing everything and everyone in her way for revenge. Now, I recounted all of those events in a very quick succession with rapid cuts in my editing. For most people, such rapid cuts would leave them feeling stressed out. This was intentional. I did this because such a rapid unfolding of traumatic events would leave a person feeling uneasy. Of course, it's by no means as traumatic as losing your father figure. However, it's a small-scale example of what such difficult and intense situations could do to a person. I mean, sure, it happened over 19 years for Ellie, and in The Last of Us universe, 19 years is a pretty long time. Nonetheless, such events would still be extremely horrific for somebody to experience. Losing every single thing you love would break you, no matter how strong you think you are and no matter how much time it takes. When you're left with nothing, you feel like you are nothing, and that's enough to remove you from your sanity. Maybe in some ways, solitude can lead to serenity, but not if that solitude is forced upon you by the traumatic circumstances of your environment. When it's forced, it feels suffocating. It feels like you're drowning under the weight of 1,000 tons of suffering, and it's not pleasant at all. That's almost certainly how Ellie felt, and the only way she could manifest all that pain was through a violent, frenzied killing spree. She couldn't face her pain, so she beat it into the people who dared stand in her way. Something deep inside of her mind and soul shattered, and that's the only way she knew how to fix it, by killing. Every single moment of suffering in her life completely obliterated her already strained mental health. The deteriorating of her mind is shown so well as the game progresses. It gets to a point where the player begins to question everything that they're doing. But again, it's difficult to understand why she's doing it if one hasn't experienced such trauma for themselves. The human mind is unpredictable. It's intricate, layered with unbelievable levels of complexities. It's extremely difficult to possess the ability to withstand pretty much anything that takes place in the Last of Us universe. Everybody is at war with the world. They're at war with nature. Every breath is a struggle, and every second is a mad scramble to survive. So the fact that Ellie was able to live through all of that trauma is a feat in itself. It's difficult for most of us to say we've experienced such a great amount of pain in our lives, at least compared to Ellie. I'm not trying to play down my or your experiences. I'm simply making an assumption and saying that we have not gone through a violent apocalypse. Personally, if I replaced Ellie, I don't know how much I would be able to take. I don't know how far I'd have been able to get in that situation. I definitely would have broken much quicker than she did, because through all of that, she still stayed pretty strong, and I can't say I'd be the same. In a fucked up way, it's pretty admirable. She was stubbornly persistent in her journey and walked away from so many brutal situations, more or less still in one piece, physically. And even then, her mind was still strong enough. It was slowly breaking, but for me, I probably would have broken instantly. It took quite a while to truly break her. But the toothpick always snaps, no matter how strong it is. There just has to be enough pressure on it. Now, I'd like to ask you, the viewer, how you would feel if you went through everything Ellie went through. If you lost everything, how would you react? I find that with sensitive and painful media like this, it's best to look inward and question yourself on why a piece of art or a piece of media in general made an impact on you. I do it all the time. Putting oneself in uncomfortable positions and asking uncomfortable questions is the best way to build a strong stance on anything. We all wish that the world was picture perfect and that everything was simple, happy, and easy. But it's not. So, what would you do in this situation? I told you in this video that your mind is fragile. It needs love and it needs to be nurtured. It needs to be built. But in all honesty, I have no right to tell you if you are strong or not. I'd like you to tell me. And if that's too personal, that's okay. You are not obligated to answer me, but I implore you to challenge yourself with such hard-hitting questions, consume hard-hitting art, and face brutal reality. Because if you do, and if you accept the horrifying aspects of being human, it's easier then to appreciate the beauty of who we are. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's one of my personal favorites. I've been struggling recently to fix my microphone just before recording this video, and I was panicking like crazy, so I'm really happy I was able to fix it and get this video done. I'm thinking of making a second part of this video. I'll be exploring the same concept, the fragility of the human mind, but I'll be using the manga/anime Attack on Titan to explore the same concept. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing something like that. And that's all I have to say. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing if you're new, and click the notification bell so that you never miss my uploads. My socials and Discord are linked below, as is my Patreon. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to look for the light, and goodbye for now.